Do you think having more inner peace would give you more fulfillment? How about letting go of control? Do you think that'll add to it? And what about psychedelics? What role, if any, do they have to play in this? Join me, your host, Pete Taylor, and my guest today, Ben Coomber, as we explore all of those avenues.
Ben, my man, welcome into the Awaken Man pod. Good to have you.
Mate, finally, we've been wanting to do this for a while, so let's be thankful that the universe aligned us, and hey, mate, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah. And let's just get straight into that. So prior to this pod, Ben and I were just talking about the need to control, the want for inner peace, the combination of being a fucking warrior, being a savage, having drive, direction, going at life, but also how the fuck does that interlink with the spiritual realm and just being a little bit more slower and being a little bit more calm and going with the flow of life. And ironically, it sounds like Ben and I have been on similar journeys over the last couple of years in tapping into that space.
We have, and it's beautiful. Yeah. Do you know what? I mean, let's talk about the path to getting kind of stuck in that energy, because that's what we're talking about now. We're talking about the energetic human and what our potential is and what energy really is. Like, you and me have both been entrepreneurs for a long time. We've both been A-type personalities, very driven, over-ambitious, and however that has manifested, both with negative and positive energies, you end up getting kind of stuck because you read all this information and you also get confirmation bias that, well, if I control more, I do more, I get more output, I get more reward, I get more money, I get more acclaim, I get more success. And then you get stuck in that energy. And that's that entrepreneurial go-getter drive where your life's a to-do list and you judge your self-worth based on how much you've done and how much money you've earned and stuff. And that's where I got stuck. I got rewarded for doing more. And then there was a point where I broke. I got ill. I got long COVID. I had to take like 18 months to like recover and heal myself. And as a result of that journey, that led me in to start to really question like every area of my life. And that's where I think we've got to be really careful a lot of these kind of success messages and energies, that if you are not aware and you do not have good people around you, you will get stuck. You will make yourself frustrated. You will make yourself ill. You will make yourself angry. And then you'll sit there one day and go, this hasn't led me to the point that I thought I would get led to. Like I'm not happier. I'm not more fulfilled. So I think it's really good to kind of just identify how we get to this problem state before we kind of explore potentially a better way of looking at it and behaving.
Yeah, absolutely. Recall probably 4 years ago, on the outside, Pete's got an amazing business, loads of people working for him, has nice things, like externally nice things. I remember lying on my bed in so much stress and so much internal pain. I thought it felt like there was like cancer growing inside of me. And it was absolutely down to I was just trying to control everything that was going on in my life. Absolutely freaking everything, to the way that my team were acting, to the way my clients were behaving, to all the internal processes and systems that were going on in my bricks and mortar business. Us buying a house and controlling the outcome of buying the house, everything, right? It looked like I was mega successful. On the inside, I felt like I fucking had cancer growing inside of me. And I remember my jaw super tight, my neck super tight, everything in my body just felt tight, and as though I was just trying to squeeze and control fucking everything. And that was like 4 years ago. And I went through that. I continued that path. I was like, well, surely this is the path, right? I'm just going to keep going at this, keep employing more people, buying more things, getting the bigger houses, doing the things that I thought would lead me to more success externally. But it actually led to such a dip in my mental state that I was forced to look elsewhere. I was like, this fucking more to-do list and this like adding more to my life isn't working.
Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it? And
Mm.
I let me like share a little story about the power of energy here. There's lots of books out there that have been written, especially in more kind of Eastern philosophies of kind of health and energy and stuff. And I think the book's called The Body Holds the Score, but there's a documentary on Netflix, actually on Amazon, called Heal, and it all talks about how trauma and energy can be stored in the body physically and manifest in different ways. When you think about it energetically, it kind of makes sense to a degree, but I still think you have to experience it. I don't think you can just believe something like that, especially if you've just not been aware of it. And because we're quite functional people, as humans, we're very much developed in the 21st century to be head and brain driven people. Okay, let's be logical about this. What's the best decision for me in my work life, in my marriage, whatever? And actually, what we really want to get aligned with is what our heart is saying, our gut is saying, our intuition is saying. And I think we have an intuition pandemic. Like, so many people are not in touch with their intuition. Like, where do you want to go? Why do you want to do it? That's what we need to be tapping into. And the fight that so many people have is, I kind of know in my gut that I want this, but my dad's saying this, my mum's saying this, my friend's saying this, culture's saying this, society's saying this. And it's just this internal conflict all the time. So in part of this like spiritual journey that I've been on over kind of like the last 2 to 3 years, I was experiencing a lot of back and neck pain, and I'd get a migraine every day, neck pain every day, all through the eye, up the head, couldn't concentrate. And I've been battling with it for ages, and some stuff worked. I removed foods that I was sensitive to. That helped a bit, lowered my stress even more. That kind of helped a little bit, improved sleep. But the biggest thing, aside from wearing wireless headphones, that had a significant effect on my migraines, is the actual tension that was originating from was linked to a story that I was holding on to. So I went and saw this practitioner that I've been seeing for quite a while, and she was doing some energy work on me. And she said, your foot's really blocked. Like, it just doesn't move properly. Like, why is that? And I said, I don't know. It's been like that for ages. And she started to move my foot and show me how my body was moving. And she goes, can you not just see you've got massive friction through the whole of the right side of your body? And I was like, I have done for a long time. I can't straighten my right arm, my right hip's worse, my right foot's worse, all throughout the whole right side of my body. And she goes, okay, I want you to go to your masseuse. And I have a masseuse that I go to like now and again for a little kind of tune up and whatever. And I said, Paul, you massage my foot, and all I'm going to do is go into a meditation and start to internalize releasing that pain. And I started to go through this internal narrative that you might do with kind of like a guided meditation, like, I'm ready to let go of the pain, I'm ready to let go of the trauma, like whatever it is. And anyone that started to go very deep into meditation, breath work, energy work, your body will have a physical response when you're starting to tap into something and release something. So I was going into this meditation as this practitioner, Paul, was massaging my foot, and nothing was really working. And then I said something, and I got this wave of pins and needles all over my body, like this electrical charge had just gone boom. And I was like, interesting. And I spent the next half an hour of this massage while Paul was working on my foot, going through and deepening into this kind of train of thought that I'd kind of stumbled on. I sort of thought about that when I was dealing with my back pain. I was like, what if my back pain is related to a mental and emotional story that is hidden? And I'd been through probably 20 osteopath appointments, 20 massages. Like, for years, I've been trying to do this. So I went back to Paul and I said, Paul, we're going to do the same again that we did on my foot. And I'm just going to meditate the whole time you're going through my back and my neck. And I spent a good 20 minutes and I was saying stuff like, I'm ready to let go of trauma that I've experienced. I'm ready to let go of pain. I'm ready to do this. And nothing was working. I was like, And then I sort of paused for a minute and I said, I'm ready to let go of the stories that no longer serve me. And again, I just got this electric shock, this buzz all over my body. And I went into that and started to just explore and navigate what that meant to me. And my whole back loosened off, my neck loosened off, and I've not had any of that pain ever since. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been exploring a lot of different things around stories that I've told myself, beliefs that I used to have, traumas that I used to have through breathwork, psychedelics, energy healing, meditation, reading, increasing my self-awareness. But that was really profound for me on an energetic level, how you can start to really go into the body and look at how the body is behaving as a result of how our mind and our soul energetically integrate with it. And I just think it's fascinating. And so few people are even starting to tap into that stuff. We talk about mindset. It's way beyond that. Like, we are energetic human beings. We are connected to, Mother Nature, animals. How good do you feel if you go to the beach or a forest? It's an energy thing, oxygen, like connection, and I just, really want people to explore this stuff because it's fucking powerful.
Well, we're feeling beings, right? We feel shit. We have emotions. Emotions is energy and motion, right? It is that we are energetic beings. But I think with us, specifically with us guys, energy is more in the feminine. So us guys thinking more in our logic, in our analytical, is like, well, let's be more in the mind. This has got to be a mindset thing. I need the next mindset hack. I need the next business strategy. I need the next tool or system or structure to get to the next level. But actually, it's essentially both. Right, it's having the tools and the systems and the structures, but it's also having, like we said earlier, the flow, the energy, the spirit, having inner peace. It's having both of those, the yin and the yang together, which makes us way more integrated. Something that we were talking about recently on The Awakened Man is archetypes. Carl Jung, the psychologist there, who talked about archetypes many years ago, and the first 4 archetypes he was talking about that most guys have, or all guys have as a core, is number one is the persona, the ego, and the ego being essentially we build the ego from us placing masks on ourselves. So when we're young children, we go to school, we place a mask on ourselves to impress the teacher, or to rebel against the teacher, or to impress our friends, or to rebel against our friends. We put masks on, we go home, our parents are saying something different, so then we choose to agree with our parents or rebel against our parents, but we're putting a mask on. It's not always our true self. We put these masks on to essentially help the world like us, right? Society, teachers, parents, and so on and so on and so on. And we wear these masks for so long, it then becomes our identity. And it's our ego. It's taking us further away from our true self. And it's like the second half of life is where it's like, I've seen this with older people. They just don't give much of a fuck. They just about who likes them or what they say. They just don't. And it's because they just getting rid of the masks and being way more aligned with their true self.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there with getting rid of the masks, because when people bring awareness to this and identify it, I find what happens, and I did this for a long time, is I was trying to choose which mask was me, and I kept getting lost in it, and I kept getting angry and frustrated until I realized I don't need the masks. None of them are real. And that's really the journey of spirituality. It's leaving all of the masks, letting go, and finding inner truth. And this is where I think mindset can be dangerous, because it's like a plaster for a wound. It's like, okay, I see I have this trauma. I see I have this story. I see I have this belief. I'm going to get some tactical mindset to plaster over it. And it works for a bit, but then it all falls apart, because underneath there's a story which you've internalized as your truth. And you're going to always re-navigate back to that believed truth until you release yourself of that truth. And that's why I feel energy work and getting really fucking deep on this stuff is so important, because you have to go in and release trauma. You have to let it go. You have to let go of stories. Like, the path to progress is really trying to let go of every story that you tell yourself, everyone. And if people want to tune into this, your story starts at your reaction to something. So if I said to you, I think you should get better sleep, and you're like, oh, I can't because of X, that's a story you tell yourself. And that story is currently holding you back. So if you can find a way to start to become literally a blank canvas as a human, I'm open to everything. I'm open to the power of people. And that's the unfortunate thing about the ego. The ego gets in the way of help, and help always comes from other humans. Other humans are our path to greater progress, greater success, greater enlightenment, greater fulfillment. Every breakthrough happened somehow through a human. Even if a human wrote that book and you had an epiphany reading that book, it was a human. So we've really got to open ourselves up, because unfortunately, I'd like to think you agree with this, the male energy, the go-getter, the aggressor, the alpha, we're very good at blocking ourselves off from help sometimes. We choose which bits of help we want to fit the kind of story that we're currently telling ourselves or navigating. And unfortunately, we really hinder our ability. And I did that for a long time. I was like, nah, that help doesn't fit my story at the moment. I'm going off over here. And since I've completely opened myself up to the power of other humans and just listened to everyone and everything, it's really, really helped me, because I was just getting in the way of myself all the time.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just being a wounded guy, right? Got wounds, and actually, what you said earlier about the mindset, actually kind of just being a plaster that you're just overlaying rather than going deeper into it. It's like, I saw this in myself, and when I made this switch, it made a fucking tremendous difference. Is that for so many years, I would do the podcasts, watch your YouTube, I'd read all the fucking books, I'd do the courses, talk to me, and I'd tell you exactly what's going on. I'd be able to intellectualize it very, very well. And I see this with my own guys. I'm like, guys, you're fucking intellectualizing all of this stuff, but you're not actually doing it. You're not actually going deeper into it and truly, truly understanding where it applies to you and how you can work through that. You're just intellectualizing it. You're just listening to all the podcasts, reading all the books, but it's not fucking making any difference. You got to go and do the work, and the work is chaotic. The work is hard. It's painful, because you'll uncover shit that you might not know was there, and it's difficult. But the path to do this is through, not just on the outside.
Yeah. And this journey is super painful, because when you break down the ego, you go through huge bouts, or I have, and this is what I've been told from other spiritual teachers, is you go through big bouts of insecurity, because you lose mask. So it's like, who am I now? I've lost that layer, that mask that I had. And I kind of went too deep on this journey for quite a while. I was doing too much deep work, and it was leaving me really kind of, I'll say, discombobulated. I was kind of struggling to function. It was affecting my business, my team, my family life, because people were like, fucking, you seem really like unstable emotionally. And it's because I was going too quickly and peeling back too many of these layers. And you could argue that's a good thing, but I still have to function. I have to be a dad, I have to be a leader, I have to innovate in my business. But I want people to be aware of that, because that's going to happen. Like, if you feel insecurity, you're on the right path. You are now having to re-navigate your truth, and that's a beautiful thing. Lean into it. But unfortunately, most people lean away, because it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm just going to read another book that's full of alpha energy and just try go, 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 go. And I bet you it will not be the answer.
No. And it is. So like, just going into some of the work that I've done over the last few years, therapy being some of that, somatic therapies being some of that, breathwork being some of that, and also psychedelic experiences being some of that. I can say that every one of those things was fucking hard. Like, I think about my next sort of experience doing that, I get nervous. I'm like, oh fucking hell, what's gonna come up? Like, I get nervous doing it, but like every time going through that, I learn something new, and I'm able to piece together something new. Like my psychedelic experience that I did just over a year ago, I describe that as like 400 years worth of therapy in 4 hours.
What did you do?
I did psilocybin.
Okay.
So I did psilocybin. I did a heroic dose of psilocybin, so it's 5 grams of it, and it was a ceremony. I did it out in Ibiza. I did it with someone I trust. He's a shaman. He's a client, very, very trusting guy. And I went there with intention. I wasn't going to get fucked up. I was going to process and do some work and see where that takes me. And it was fucking so difficult. It was an incredibly difficult. Those 4 hours felt like 40 hours. It was incredibly difficult. But afterwards, I mean, guys around me, like guys that work with me, like, fucking LP, you like, there's a noticeable difference in you, real noticeable. I'm like, yeah, I fucking shedded some layers. I've taken off some of the masks.
It's so beautiful though. I love seeing that in other people because I'm like, you're growing, dude. I love it. I saw a friend, he's actually been in your program. I don't know if he still is. Sam Mounier.
Yeah, he still is. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah. So I saw Sam 3-4 weeks ago, chasing status live, Milton Keynes Bowl. He was there and I walked up to him and I was like, dude, fucking love how you look. You look lighter. You look good. Like whatever you're doing, respect. And he just sort of like nodded, and it's a knowing nod. You don't have to say anything more. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm doing the work. And it's so beautiful. And it's so amazing when you can be around more people that are constantly growing. Like, you're seeing their journey and you're like, oh, I'm going to kind of go over there. And if you speak to anyone that's been on any form of spiritual journey, not one person ever goes, oh, I wish I could go back to the start.
No.
Yeah, I don't like what I found, man. It's not good. It's not, because once you see, you want to go, well, what else can I see? I want to see through me fully. I want to see more. I want to see wider. I want to see people. I want to see energy. I want to see humanity for what it really is. And we've become such a dysfunctional species when we think about how we live our lives. Like so many people, it's just like, get up, go to work, over caffeinated, overstimulated, overworked, try and train, try and look after ourselves, run around, go to bed, do it all again. And so much more to life on an experience level, an energetic level. And then you look at the other side of that, and most people's kind of route away for that or escapism is kind of alcohol, transient holidays that don't serve them, meeting up with friends that don't serve. And I'm just like, there is so much more to life than that. So much more, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Well, those they're vices. The drink, the drugs, the fancy holidays. It's essentially just hiding away from some deeper pain. And it's a vice. Feels fucking good in the moment. Having a drink or taking something or watching porn, whatever. It feels good in the moment, but it takes away from the future. Right. That's massively common for so many guys, and essentially it's hiding deeper shit that's going on within their bodies.
Do you want to navigate back to control? Because when we opened this podcast, you sort of mentioned control, and I think what's really important, or maybe just a really simple starting point for anyone listening to this, is I think there's certain things that we want to control. Definitely. Like if you run a business and you're going to go to work for 7 hours a day, you want to kind of control your to-do list to an extent. You want to be focused. You want to work on the highest leverage tasks, etc., etc. But within that, there also needs to be a real letting go of what is within some of those tasks. So you talked about working with team members, working with other people. The more that you try to control an outcome, the more that you inhibit the beautiful flow of energy between people. So if someone, let's say you're in a meeting, 6 people in a meeting, you're talking about a project, whatever. If you try to be too dominant and try to control too much because your ego thinks that you have the best outcome, you are not going to bring together the power of the collective. And the more that you can just almost sit back and just listen and let the energy in the room just flow, you're going to create a more positive outcome. It will take longer. And that's the problem with the entrepreneur, the male energy. It's kind of like, why are we talking so much here? I can see a solution. Let's do the solution. Let's go and let's move on. But then 4 weeks later, you've broken it because you haven't thought about this and that, because you restricted the flow of energy. But then you think about outside of that, like if we try and control too much in our family life, in our friendship group, like you don't just allow everyone to kind of mold and flow together. And what I've learned is the more that I used to control, the less I saw. the less I saw of other people, the less opportunity I saw, because you're basically walking down a road with a pair of blinkers on.
Yeah.
But if you could move slower with less control, more feeling and being aware of what's happening, what people are saying, what opportunities are cropping up, you're like, hang on, there's a little road over here. The energy on that road, I like that. I'm just going to walk down it. It feels beautiful. Hello. And then you meet someone and then you have a conversation and then it opens up and you're like, well, actually, and if we control that, we will miss all of that. And now I've really tried to let go. A huge turning point for me in this is a book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Seeger.
My
And I
favorite
read
book.
that. Yeah, great book. I read that last year when I went to a holiday with the kids in Centre Park. I usually get up about an hour before the family. And I used that hour to read 45 minutes of that book and did 15 minutes meditation and raced through that book. And at the end of it, I was just like,
Yeah.
that was good. I'm really going to tune into this. And it wasn't easy. Like I didn't click my fingers and just, drop into the flow of life. It took work and I had to unpack some other stuff. But it was just so beautiful to just see how really the world was working and unfolding for me if I allowed it to, rather than just walking down this singular road where I was trying to control all the variables because my ego thought, oh, you know what's best, man. You've read the books.
Yeah. That book too changed my life. I actually took up yoga off the back of that book.
Snap, me too.
Yeah, and now what I love is the polarity that I have between getting on the mats and having a fight in jiu-jitsu, or getting up the gym and really hitting it hard in the gym, and then going into doing some yoga or doing some meditation. It's the complete opposite. But those two things together, it gives me that masculine side, and then it also again gives me that real nice, slow, easy flow side, and I feel fucking loads better for it. Like, things in life's fucking chaotic. Life's always challenging. There's always things going on, but the more at ease you are internally, just like and to not control the things that are going on in life, it does give you that sense of inner peace. And it's way easier just to go, okay, here's an example, right? A couple of months ago, I was running an event. This is the first event that I'm running on my own. Normally I have other facilitators. I'm running it on my own in the UK and London. And loads of guys turning up. And I'd mapped out a schedule on a fucking post-it note.
Really?
Right? Schedule on a post-it note is in my back pocket. And in the morning, I'd just gone to drop off my son to my ex-wife. And then I'd walking back and I was like, let me just grab the schedule and just read it before I go into this 2-day session with loads of guys. And I'd lost it. It must have just come out when I'd take my phone out somewhere in London. It's gone. And honestly, fucking a couple of months before that, my brain would have gone wild. Shit, I've got no plan. I don't know the schedule. What the fuck am I going to talk about? And I'm like, dude, take this as a gift. Surrender to now you don't have the schedule anymore. Now you can't be so controlling.
You're free.
Just go with the flow.
Go with the energy.
Yeah. Dude, I went with the flow the entire weekend. Didn't plan it. Just because I'm just going to go with the flow. Whatever I feel I'm going to teach. Now I've got to do another event this weekend. I have triple the amount of guys that are coming to this event. And I know it's because the first one was so successful because it was just all about, hey, just trust your intuition there. Pete, trust my intuition that I know what I'm talking about. Jam with the guys. Don't be so structured. And it worked.
Love that. And you can only really start to do that when you are tapped in to a certain extent to your intuition and your abilities. The universe is constantly sending us messages. Like, that was a message from the universe to say, hey, bro, you're ready. You don't need to control this environment anymore. You need to listen to the energy. And I had that similar journey with public speaking where I used to have quite a lot of slides and, points and stuff. And then there was a moment where I just tuned in to the audience in front of me, and I was just like, I had this real internal friction that I was like, the people that are here today do not want to hear what you're about to teach. They don't. And I just looked at the faces in the room and I just said, I had a presentation planned today, but I'm not going to do it. And I had a couple of things that I got off my chest, and then people started to share in the room. And And I started to really just pick up on the energy, because the energy just didn't fit what I was about to teach. And it was the most beautiful presentation I've ever done. Like, it just fit, it worked. And again, that was a sign for me from the universe that you're ready to tune into what people need. And part of my journey in being able to help other people is surrendering to any judgment I have about a situation or a person or whatever. Like, if someone sits in front of me and I look at them and they're overweight, they look tired or whatever, the controlling brain-based mind will be like, oh, this person needs to go to fucking bed on time, needs a calorie deficit, all this kind of stuff. And so, oh, tune into their energy, tune into their words. What are they saying? Oh, actually, they've got this big thing that they don't know how to verbalize and get off their chest. Let's get into that. And that probably solves all the other stuff. But you've really just taken time to listen and kind of tune in and stuff. I love that story, by the way. To go back and be a little bit practical and just to match the ego to control and to situations. Something that anyone listening to this might be able to do is, I read a book years ago, and it kind of talked about this principle where when you change environment, so let's say you go from work to home, you walk through a door frame, and that door frame is a signal for you to be a different person as you walk into that room. And I did that for a long time, and it kind of worked a bit. But again, it was a controlling brain-based thing. So it's like, right, I'm now going from work to home. I need to be this person in the house. And it was a conscious behavior. It's like, right, I need to be like fun or happy or whatever, leave the day behind. And what I've now evolved that into is, what energy do I want to share and experience in this moment? And what I've learned to do is almost be a blank canvas in any situation. So after this podcast will finish, and an old me might be like, right, I've got to get into that task that I said I'd do, and I jump on my email and do whatever. Now I always take 2 or 3 minutes and I just go, let's just have some silence. Where's my energy? Where do I need to move next? And just taking that 1 to 2 minutes as a person before you go into the next environment just allows you to just, where am I at? Where do I want to be? Where's my energy? Where's my thought process? Where's my emotions? Do I want to heighten that emotion? Do I want to leave it? And that just allows you the space to make a different decision, because in that space is your ability to change how you're going to behave in the next moment.
Yeah. I love that. One of my, actually, your door frame analogy there, something slightly different that can be very practical for anyone listening. One of my clients is a sergeant in the police force, and he is so he's an armed sergeant. So him and his force, they literally deal with the most traumatic events that the police do in the UK. And he said, he was like, dude, like when I'm at work, I have to be a savage. Like, it's like literally my role is I fucking have to be a fucking warrior. I'm going into these like dangerous zones.
Yeah.
And then I get home and with my family, and I've still got that savage mode on. And I was like, okay, well, how about this? How about like when you pull up to your house in the car, so you're getting out your police car, whatever car you're driving, and just before you get out, your trigger is that when you open the door, you just flick your switch from this savage policeman that you have to be during the day, because that is your role, to, you're going to flick the switch into the family man. And just literally just take a moment before you get out the car, when you pull the handle, that's the switch flicking. It's like your door frame analogy. That's the switch flicking. Go into the family man and then step into your home as a family man, not the savage. It's important, fucking so many guys, just to have that break point between work and family or whatever that looks like. Otherwise, you don't turn that off, and it's detriment.
Can I try and improve that? Just through my experience, I think there is an improvement. And I've only really tuned into this over the last 6 weeks. So I was listening to a podcast about Mike Chang. Do you remember him? He used to be the OG six-pack shortcuts guy in America, right?
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, he had an ayahuasca experience. No, not ayahuasca. He went on a hippie trip. He did MDMA and mushrooms together. Literally woke him up. He said, right, I'm selling my business and I'm fucking going off to live in Bali. And he went on this long spiritual journey for 7 years in Bali. Amazing story. It was really cool. And he's come back and he's trying to teach all about the brain and body connection and how we flow and how we kind of cultivate and use our energy. And he was talking about, in a lot of yogic philosophies, they'll talk a lot about movement releasing energy. And I then sort of got on to reading a couple of books around that, and the teachings was observing animals. So when an animal has an encounter that is basically raising adrenaline, like there's a confrontation, it won't just walk away and like hide, it will shake it off.
Yeah.
It will, like, the cat will, have a rustle, the dog will stretch. All animals have this release of energy. So what I've tried to do, and this is coming back to controlling, like, again, if we go into our head and be like, I'm going to try and control my emotions and say, I'm now this person, you probably pair that with a movement to make it even more powerful. So when you go through some ceremonies, like energetically, they'll get you to like close your eyes, you'll start to go into an intention, and they'll just ask you to shake your body, like shake your body and release that energy. So that man walking into the door who's got a lot of stored, like, I'm the alpha, I've been at work, it might be quite hard for him to just drop all of that through a mental process. So he might literally stand outside his front door, close his eyes, and just like shake for 15 to 20 seconds really aggressively, arms, legs, everything, be like, I am free, I am flowing, I am loving, I am energetic, I am fun, I am happy. And then he just walks through the front door. And I wouldn't be surprised if that really gives him this surge of like free flowing energy, because you're physically releasing and letting that energy go. And I've started to do that in the morning. It's really cool. Like, yeah.
So this guy, and we'll just talk about this guy as my client, is very, very typical of a lot of guys that do come into my world. It's kind of like maybe they've experienced self-development before, or they haven't, but they're like, fucking hell, this shit that you're talking about, I'm not comfortable with that, mate. That's like, I said to him, I was like, dude, I can't believe I'm going to fucking say this to you, because someone said it to me a couple of years ago, and I was like, fuck off. I was like, dude, you need to soften, right? You actually got to soften up a little bit. And I remember when someone said it to me, I'm like, oh, fucking don't. My chest pumped up. And this weekend at the event, him and there's 43 guys coming, and I'm going to take them through that sort of thing. There's going to be a process that we're going to do. It's going to be quite somatic. It's going to be very fucking primal, and it's going to be around movement. And I know probably 80% of the room will have not experienced it before.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to make them feel pretty fucking uncomfortable for the first 5 minutes, until they experience what they will experience afterwards, energetically, emotionally, their feelings, how they feel in their body. And then they'll be like, okay, now I understand. It might look a bit fucking weird. And probably when Pete suggests it, they're going to think, what the fuck? But then they'll experience a state change, which will then, hopefully, they're going to take it home to their day-to-day lives and be able to do things like that to state change.
Mm. And it'll be amazing, because hopefully once that happens, people will start to soften their ego. They'll start to almost let it disappear, and the energy in the room will start to flow way more organically. Guys will start to just connect more easily, because they're out of their heads and they're in their bodies, they're tuned in.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful thing to do. And
one of the best examples of this is, like, say me and you didn't really know each other, and we went to the gym, right? And we just did a session at the gym, but I guarantee by the end of the fucking gym session, we'd be brothers.
Yeah.
And it's like when you get two guys or a group of guys together, and you're doing like energetic, you're doing some form of movement where you're exerting energy together. Like the masculine's so good at giving love and forming those really, really tight bonds super, super quick. But most guys think it's like, no, masculine doesn't give love. The masculine will just judge and so on and so on. But it's not. It's it is the opposite.
Yeah, I love it. And hopefully people listening to this are open to it, and they'll start to really think about it, because ultimately all we can do is look at the results we're currently experiencing in our life. So if you have a lot of control, you are trying to operate with a lot of alpha energy, is it serving you? Is it making you happy? does your energy flow freely? Do you feel free as a human operating from your truth? And if the answer is no, then it's time to explore a bit more of the feminine, opening yourself up to other people, to help, to love, getting rid of the stories that you're telling yourself, rewriting the beliefs that you hold true to yourself. And just know it is uncomfortable work, but it's really rewarding.
Yes, it's incredibly rewarding. And here, like, I give you a live example actually. This is something that happened to me recently, and I felt a lot of shame around it. And unknowingly within that shame, I was then trying to control. So someone mugged me off online. And they didn't go out and like vocalize or anything. They actually paid them, they actually took my money and then disappeared. Right? And this is thousands, right? I paid them thousands for a service and they fucking disappeared. And I was fucking fuming. I was fuming for a while out there. I also felt fucking, I had like actual shame around this, that I'd allowed myself to pay this guy, and even though my intuition was telling me not to, and so on and so on, right? Unknowingly, the shame inside of me and the way I was trying to control the situation again. I was like, what can I do to get this guy back? And what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Which is the right thing to do, but to get the guy back, probably not the right thing to do. I was so fucking tight in my body for a good couple of weeks. I hadn't really seen it. I was extremely snappy with Leo, my son. I was snappy with the people around me. And then the way that I was showing that shame without knowing, like I was trying to do things to sabotage my business, to sabotage my personal relationships without fucking knowing. Whereas if I'd got control, if I'd actually just cottoned on to, hey Pete, I'm trying to control the situation. This has happened. Absolutely, yeah. Do you know what? Be angry about that, but just allow yourself a day to be angry about that, and then just fucking let go of it. Right? I wouldn't have spent weeks sabotaging and doing these like very sabotaging behaviors that aren't me because I was trying to control the situation. Right? And this is what I love about this work. I'm fucking in the weeds. Like I'm well in the trenches. I'm not on a high horse going, I completed the matrix here. I'm well within this. But the more that you can be attuned with where you're trying to control things in your life, the quicker you can get hold of it and then fucking let go of it. And now I've let go of it, I'm just like, yeah, do you know what? Pissed me off, but I've moved on.
Yeah. The reason I think we hold on to stuff like that is it almost gives us meaning, and it gives us something to do, and it gives us a sense of importance. It's like, I know a lot of people that I've tried to help that have been quite ill. And there's someone that really sticks out at the moment. I'm trying to help her recover from a very long-standing condition, helping her for free because I can just see that I can help. And she won't let go of her identity of being an ill person because it's giving her meaning. And there's such a lack of meaning in so many areas of their life. But so many people attach themselves to situations like this because it makes them feel significant. You know, bowling around, sharing your story down the pub with your mates, like, oh, this guy, that guy, this happened. Like, it makes you feel important. It brings energy to you because you've got something to talk about and get the pitchfork out. But the problem is you then internalize that energy, and that energy becomes part of your being, and you start to stay angry, stay frustrated, stay tight. And like you said, which I think is beautiful, you have to observe the effect of that on your life. When I've got stuck in my head and I'm controlling too much, I'm holding on to something, how do you think I am with my wife?
Yeah.
How do you think I am with my 2 kids? What's their experience of me like? And every time I've gone through like a layer of this journey, I can see myself getting closer to my kids, for example, because kids are such a great reflection of where you're at. Their energy exactly bounces off yours. Like if your kids are combative, naughty, frustrated, emotional, like what's your energy? Why might they be feeling like that? Because really a kid is a blank canvas. They are just responding to their environment. Don't get me wrong. There's DNA based, reactions that they will have to certain things, and they will kind of learn. But they are so sensitive to energy. And like my home, my household, my life is so much happier now. I've got out of my own way, opened myself up, opened my heart up, and not held on to things, because it's a free flowing energy.
Yeah. And it's likely that you're way more loving.
Yeah,
So
totally.
you're giving way more love into the family.
Yeah. And the important thing in that is also love to yourself, like compassion and kindness. Like, we're all on a journey. We're all figuring this stuff out. You and me haven't completed it. We're just a bit further down the road than other people, and we can probably help bring awareness and tell people where to go and what to try. And like, that's okay. And as long as we operate from a place of compassion for ourselves and where we're at and what we're trying to do, like, you can move with grace, and just enjoy the journey and flow through it.
Let's talk about some of the things to be aware of if you're thinking about dipping your toes into the more like energetics, breathwork, psychedelics, and things to be aware of before you get into it.
I think psychedelics is potentially becoming dangerously trendy, in that a lot of people are potentially not ready for it, because it can be incredibly destabilizing. If you know, I've heard of horror stories where people have gone in and have had a very bad experience, and that's because of their readiness, the level of trauma that they've got to release, how much stored energy is in their body, and it's just really, really discombobulated their whole life as a result of it. And I see a lot of influencers, like I literally, I've been sort of chatting to someone recently and trying to help them. And this individual has done several ayahuasca retreats, like lots of different stuff. And I took a call with him and I said, dude, your ego is fucking massive. Like, you've papered over everything and you're wearing ayahuasca, all of this stuff as a badge of honor. Like, I've done all this stuff. And I was like, you cannot see what you're doing. Like, you have restricted everything. You're over controlling everything. You're getting in the way. You're obsessed with success. Like, you'll do or die on this stuff. And we just went back into kind of like all of the past trauma, because a lot of this stuff comes from your childhood, let's be honest. And I was like, you have not dealt with that. Like, the way that you're even talking about it now, you've not dealt with that. You've not really come to accept that and let go of it and all the rest of it. And I suppose my point here is that you're not gonna benefit just going slowly with this kind of stuff, because you can just start to see. So someone messaged me the other day, because I posted about spirituality on my Instagram stories, and someone said, dude, I feel like I'm ready for this. I don't know where to start. And I said, look, probably start with the book Awareness. That, I think that's like just a good little introduction that starts to prod and probe. I'd then go to a breathwork workshop. I'm a big fan of the Wim Hof half-day fundamental courses that are run all over the UK. And I said that will start to get you to realize what your mind and body is capable of and what can happen in an altered state. Because if you get breathwork right, you can really peel back and go on a massive, incredible journey. Reading, that's great. It's brain-led. And then breathwork is kind of heart-led, if you can kind of really get to grips with it. And then getting some coaching, like energetic coaching, start to tune into like your energy, a bit of meditation, and then you can start to take bigger leaps, like bigger journeys, where you might go to a cacao and meditation guided session, or you might consider psychedelics or whatever. But you've got to be at a certain level of openness and readiness, in my opinion, to do that safely. Because a lot of people are just dancing around the internet, I went off to fucking the South American jungle and did this, and this happened, and I'm like, Jesus, I can see right into your soul there, and you're just wearing that. You haven't been ready for that. So that would, I don't know, you might have a slightly different opinion. I'm trying to navigate this myself, because I'm being asked about it even more at the moment, and I almost want to share notes from other people to allow other people to kind of walk this road in the right way.
Yeah, I think where I've navigated this and I've done well is the people that I've done this with, both in breathwork facilitation and somatic work and therapeutic work and with psychedelics, is that everyone that I've had involved with doing that with me, I've trusted them, and they've been some form of professional.
Yeah.
But the shaman that I used in Ibiza, he's been doing it for 17 years. I met him before we did it, and I did, like, immediately deeply had trust in him. Like, he's done this with thousands of people, and I had a lot of trust in him. Like, he hasn't just started this a couple of weeks ago, or you know, he's just done some internet course, and like, he's very, very experienced with it. And I trusted, and there was a connection with me and him, which was very, very important, because ultimately I was going to be extremely vulnerable and kind of giving myself, okay, you're going to look after me now for the next like six. It was actually a 24-hour experience, so it was a whole day. So absolutely look out for that. Find people that are trusting, that come recommended. If you want recommendations from me, come talk to me. Sure, Ben will do the same. Right. That's number one. The second thing I'd say is, be super careful if you're already in this world, or you're thinking about getting into this world, and you're using it as a crux. It's like, I still haven't got the answers, so I'm going to go and do the next trip. I still haven't got the answers. I know there's more, so I'm going to go and do the next batch of psychedelics or ayahuasca, or take the next trip to Costa Rica. And if you find yourself, you've done like 5, 10, 15, 30 trips, and this is where awareness really, really plays such a fucking important role in where you're at, right? Because you will absolutely take steps back before you take loads of steps forward. But if you're just going deeper and deeper into trauma that's not necessarily helping your growth, I think just take a break, right? And look at this, because I see so many using this as crux for the answers, and it's not necessarily going to give you the answers.
When we search for people, I agree, people have been absolutely instrumental on my journey. Like, you want to be guided by amazing people. So my energy healer, like probably the most powerful, amazing human I've met in terms of a guide. And she's been doing this like 30 years, absolutely incredible. Very close friend has also been going on a very similar journey with me, and we've kind of been helping each other. We've gone on holiday with each other, as shared notes, and we've done all sorts together, because there's amazing people out there with wisdom. I'm 38. It would be a good idea if I found this 50-year-old dude or lady that's been doing this for 30 years that can really kind of bring you on and guide you. And a mistake I think we can probably make in this process is we're so used to finding this information or people online now. Or let me try and find a popular voice in this space online and go through that. And you find this person on Instagram, they've got 100 followers, they've got this program, they're doing this thing. Most of these amazing people do not have 100,000 followers on Instagram, because they're so focused on doing the work with real people in person. And now I've opened myself up on a local level where I live to amazing people and energies where I live. Like, I've met so many incredible humans. Like, I went to a ceremony 2 nights ago. It's the second one I've done with this lady. She's got like 700 followers on Instagram, posts a little bit, but the work that she does in the rooms that she facilitates is unbelievable.
Yes.
And I think all you've got to do is just start to ask around. Like, if you know a friend who's like a bit hippie, a bit spiritual, a bit open-minded, bit whatever, maybe pick up the phone and be like, bro, I can see you're like into yoga, you do a bit of meditation and stuff. I want to kind of touch that a bit. I want to explore it. Is there a class? Is there a person that you can recommend? And you start to go, because what you can't do on this journey is work in isolation. If you start to just in your bedroom at home, start to do a bit of meditation, do a bit of it, you're not going to get very far. That's why I recommended going to a half-day Wim Hof workshop. I want you to be in the room with other amazing people. It's why your events are transformative. And that's why I love going to events. I go to events all the time. I get coaching because I want to experience. Like you said earlier, we are energetic, feeling-based people. And you are going to leapfrog your journey if you can go and work with a coach one-to-one, go to a workshop, go to an event, go to a retreat. You will leapfrog your journey because you feel it, you get in it, you experience it.
Yeah. Here's this is a big one. I'm about to say it. And I got to admit, I fucking didn't understand this a couple of years ago. I didn't understand safety within a circle. I didn't get it. I was like, what the fuck safety within a circle mean? And then I was in a broken room, a broken circle. And I was like, oh, now I fucking get it. So this is what I mean by this, is that if you go to an event, or you go to one of these workshops where they're doing breath work, maybe it's like deep somatic breath work, so that they're actually trying to evoke trauma, right? Or it's a psychedelic arena, and the facilitators haven't built safety within a circle, and they haven't got the resources there that if someone does have a traumatic breakdown, that they can then deal with it. That can be a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Now, I've been in plenty of circles that we host and that we build that I know that are safe, and we have the right people there. I've also been in one where it wasn't safe, and I remember I still persisted in going through what they were hosting, and at the end of it, there was like 4 or 5 people that had big traumatic breakdowns, and there was no one there to help process what they were going through. And this was like I would call this like capital T trauma. Some of the biggest traumas that you can ever go through were being evoked within that arena. It was shocking for many people that are in the room, particularly some of the real like newbies that had never experienced this before. I've experienced a lot of it, so it didn't shock me, but I was like, fucking hell, there's no one here to facilitate this. There's no one here to like actually help this person process now what they're going through. And because there was a broken circle, there was no safety within it. So it's mega, mega, mega important. So if you ever go to one of these events and workshops, and they're about to go through some form of like somatic trauma-based breath work or psychedelics, and you don't feel safe, you're like, do you know what? I actually don't feel safe being here. And you'll know that. You'll know it internally. My advice is actually just to leave, is to go, do you know what? I'm not quite ready for this now. I'm going to sit out for this. Right? You've got to find a place where good facilitation and you feel fucking good within the room.
That's an
Right.
incredible point, and it honors your intuition and where you are at on your journey, because you could say to someone, this is a great workshop, great person, and they turn up and it's like, oh, Pete told me to be here, he told me it would be good. And if you just get in the room and you're like, I'm not ready for this, I need to give it a bit more time, that's okay. Like, honor your truth. Pete, no one is going to judge you for you honoring your truth and where you're at, but it could be incredibly powerful for your journey and navigating it safely, because as I said earlier, I've been guilty of going on this journey like too hard, and it made me incredibly tired, highly volatile emotionally, wasn't great to be around, just a lot of fatigue. And now that I've kind of backed off and really just tried to really feel my way through it, it's been far more enjoyable, and I feel more connected to my truth within all of this.
Yeah. The other thing is that if you go into a room like that isn't particularly safe, that you won't get the same effect. You won't get the outcome and the true experience. One of my clients said this to me actually at my last event, because we did breath work and I had a facilitator come in and do that. Like, I would say I'm okay at facilitating it, but I had a fucking world-class facilitator come in. She is phenomenal. And he said to me afterwards, he's like, never experienced that before. And he said, I went to a breathwork like workshop before, and there was like nearly 100 people there. And he said the lady at the front who was facilitating it was like, guys, this is a safe space. No one's here to judge you. You really feel that you can go truly be very, very open here, be very, very vulnerable. And he goes, in my head, I was thinking, I didn't know you 30 minutes ago. I've just fucking turned up to this workshop that was put on locally. How is this a safe space? There's like nearly 100 people in. I don't know them. And I'm like, well, now you know the difference between going to that and then coming to this, where you know me deeply. We spent a lot of time with each other before we even went into the realm of doing breath work. So I actually spent probably 4 hours building a safe space, like building that connection with the guys before we even went into let's now do breath work. And it takes, you can't just go, right, guys, jump in, an hour's breath work, and we're going to fucking release some trauma, because it won't feel right.
And that's where you have to be so tuned into the energy, because you'll only feel safe if you know that the people around you are coming at everything they do from a place of love and compassion and respect. As soon as you've got a facilitator that has any ounce of ego in the process, they will be blind to what you're seeing, you're experiencing. They have to be so open. And that's why we have to tune into our energy, because you have to be able to kind of see that for your own safety. I think that's a really powerful point, man. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And any others, any awarenesses that people have got to be aware of when they're going into this space?
I always spend a little bit of time before I go into any experience. Like, even if I drive up to the place, I sit in the car, I'll have 5 minutes to myself before I get out of the car, and I'll just be like, I'm here as an open book. I walk into this experience with no expectation, no ego. I'm here from a place of love for myself, love for humanity. I want to connect with other amazing people. I want my energy to be open, aware, connected. And again, you're setting an intention for how you want to turn up. And I think that's really important. Just the same as you would go into the gym going, I'm going to lift some heavy stuff and I want to raise the stakes here. It's a similar kind of process. So I think that's kind of important. Also, in the build up to it, make sure you surrender to what you think is going to happen. Let's say, what's today? Today's Thursday. Let's say I was going to go to your event at the weekend, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Pete's event and I'm going to kind of transform. I'm going to feel all alpha. It's going to do this. You're going to limit your ability to grow because you have expectations from the experience. So truly surrender. Know that this is a path that you want to go on, but know that you need to surrender to your energy to start to find where your energy needs to go. If I start to go in, pointing my energy in a direction, I will only be able to attach that to things that are energetically aligned. But if I go in completely open and aware, I can really start to tune into your energy, what you're saying, what experience you have, and go, okay, now I can start to really navigate this in a free flowing, loving, truthful way.
That's a fucking great point. Dude, that's high level. That, because to have that level of awareness, many guys don't have that. That's super. Hey, one of the guys who's coming to my event, this is the first time he's been to any of my event. He knows me, but he's never been to any of my things. He's at RP. I've been to a bunch of these workshops thingies before. I hope it meets my expectations. I hope it's going to be good, right? And I'm thinking, I can't wait to see you in person, because I'll call it up straight away.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to everyone about what he said in the room, because there's a bunch of guys, and I'm very, very comfortable with calling standards up and calling people up rather than out, and explain exactly what you've just said there, because it's just having this expectation. Oh, it better be fucking good. One of these workshop thingies. But there's an expectation there from him, and he's placing that with whatever he's looking to achieve, and he won't, because of that, will not then be open to everything else that will come from that workshop.
Because expectations are controlling energy.
Yes.
And we will not fully get the true benefit of any experience or wisdom if we try and control it. Because let's say you've got 100% of wisdom to give on the day, and I have an expectation, I will only potentially get 20% of your wisdom because it will fit where I'm currently at, because I'm not open enough to experience the other wisdom.
Yeah. And
this is a little tip that you can transcend into other bits of self-development, like breathwork, for example. I talk to a lot of people that really struggle with breathwork. And I said, I usually ask how they're navigating breathwork. And most people are trying to do breathwork with their mind. Like, they'll lie down, they're counting the breath, they're counting the hold, they're counting all of this stuff. And I'm like, it won't fucking work. You'll only get so far because you're not going into your intuition. So what I do when I do my breath work is I have this 25-minute playlist. It has 5 rounds of the breath work that I'm doing. It's a Wim Hof playlist. And every round is exactly the same. And for me, that's really powerful because it allows me to tune out. And all I need to tune into is the pattern, the rough pattern. So I get to surrender to the experience because I know the rough pattern, and I'm able to go inside. And when I share this with people, their breath work just goes so much better because they're able to surrender. And also going into that breath work, if you can really tune in to what you're discovering at any point in time. So when I do my breath work, I go in with an intention. So the last breath work session that I did, I've been experiencing friction in my life with friends, and because I think I got bullied a lot as a kid, I've been showing up in a slightly inauthentic way in friendships, and I've almost been like over connecting to the other person because I'm afraid of not being loved, because I got bullied all throughout my childhood. So I went into this breathwork session because I know how powerful breathwork is in releasing and delayering self. I went into the breathwork with the intention of, I am loved. That was it. I am loved. And during that session, the intention started to evolve as I tapped into my intuition, and these other things started to come up. And I navigated this breath session, and at the end of it, I felt so much lighter, so much better, because I tuned into something that was really causing me friction. And what I knew is that if the intention was simple and quite wide, my energy would navigate it in the way that it needed to, rather than going into the breathwork session thinking can be loved, it was nothing to do with my bullying when I was a kid, blah, 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 and create this kind of story. If you just make it really broad about, actually, I am a person that can be loved because I'm a beautiful human, just like all of us are, my body was then able to kind of really experience that.
Yeah.
And that's where I want people to get with breath work. And I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago on it, where I think there's a couple of layers to breath work. You know, a lot of people are using breath work to kind of de-stress and get some kind of control, and all of that has massive value. But there's a layer way, way deeper where you're using it to physically transform self through delayering all the stories and clutter and bits of ego that aren't serving you.
Yeah. It's an incredibly powerful tool.
And it's free. Fucking free, Pete. Lie down in my bedroom, YouTube playlist, free. Sometimes I take some cacao because I find that really adds to the experience, but it's free.
Yeah. And you fucking do it wherever you want. I did it. Went to the sauna yesterday. I didn't train because I'm fucking rib. Well, I'm not complaining about the rib, but it didn't train. So I went to the sauna, and I just sat there and fucking just went deep with it, and it's incredibly powerful. And you can do it wherever. You can do it in a car, you can do it sat on a tube. You can always slow down to that. That's incredibly powerful.
Question. What's the rib issue I'm trying to show you?
Yes, dude. So this is interesting. So I took jiu-jitsu up nearly a year ago. I've been on a journey there to improve, and recently they had grading. So I actually had grading to go up a stripe or belt, whatever, last week, and then so the week of grading I did the rib issue, and I haven't done any injuries in jiu-jitsu in the last year. I did it the week of grading, and at the end of this month I'm going to Turkey for a jiu-jitsu camp, so 7 days in Turkey just to train jiu-jitsu every day with a bunch of the guys. And I'm like, how fucking interesting. Like, just as I am like getting better at this sport and grading is coming up and I've committed to go to a camp, I get an injury, quite a serious one, and I'm like, is this just very, very coincidental? There's an upper limit issue. Like I'm approaching upper limits of where I've been in this journey, and I'm about to break through that upper limit, and here's my body going, fucking slow down a minute, mate. You know, or am I looking too much into it? It's like, so it's something I'm thinking about, actually.
But it's interesting reflection. I would do the same quite often. I'm like thinking about the meaning, but I think we can also just surrender to the meaning and say, there's something here, and right now I don't know what it is. And I could think about what it is, but I know that if I wait, the universe will show me. And this is where patience, like next level patience, I think is very powerful, because we can get caught in this cycle of thinking, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? It's like, I've learned to be like, there's a thing here. I bet if I just wait, it will all click into place. Give it 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever. It'll all click into place. And if you can surrender to that, I think it's incredibly powerful in my experience. But the problem is we attach so much meaning to it, we can't let go of it. And then we're overthinking, over controlling, then we try and go back to the gym or whatever it is too quickly, and then we're getting another injury and stuff. And I see this all the time with the physical body, especially with people that do a lot of fitness. They're like, oh, I got this injury again, got this injury again. And I'm like, when are you going to fucking listen
Yeah.
to your body? It's trying to tell you something. Be humble, stand back, let go, and pay attention. Listen, because the universe and your body is trying to tell you something, and you are not listening.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, me a year ago, I'd have been in the gym today.
Yeah.
Nah, power through the pain, keep going.
Yeah.
No, just let it recover. Give it some time. Be patient. I can, the gym's always going to be there for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, good to have you on, my man.
Mate, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Yeah, great chat on energetics and control. And team, I'll see you on the next episode.
Ciao.
Guys, before you go, firstly, I'll link Ben's details below in the description. Secondly, if you're not already following us on Instagram, which is at Heroic Man Official, two things. Number one, there's a link in our bio which has all the details of our next in-person events. Number two, if you follow us, we will send you a training on the 4 core archetypes that every modern man needs to embody in our modern Western world right now.